What I'm about to show you may completely change what you drink in the first 10 minutes after waking up, because one morning beverage can help your blood vessels relax, while another can quietly push your blood pressure higher before breakfast even starts. And that matters more than most seniors realize. I've seen people blame their medication, blame their monitor, even blame their doctor, when the real problem was sitting right there in the cup beside them. If you wake up with high readings, morning headaches, pressure in your face, or that uneasy feeling that your heart is already working too hard before the day begins, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which 4 drinks can help most, and which healthy morning habits may be sabotaging you. I'm Dr. Maya Selk, and after more than 2 decades in cardiology, I can tell you this with complete confidence. The most dangerous blood pressure mistakes don't always happen at dinner. They often happen at daybreak, when your body is already going through its natural morning surge. That's the period when blood pressure rises as you wake, your stress hormones climb, and your circulation shifts from nighttime rest to daytime demand. If you pour the wrong thing into your system at that moment, you can exaggerate that surge. But if you choose the right drink, you may help your arteries open a little more smoothly, reduce unnecessary strain, and support steadier readings for the rest of the day. Before we begin, please subscribe to my channel for life-saving health guidance that helps protect your heart every day. Now, I need to say something important before we count down from number 4 to number 1, because I never want to mislead you. There is no magical drink that cures hypertension in one swallow. If your blood pressure is dangerously high, or if you're already on medication, these drinks are not replacements for medical care. But some beverages really can support lower numbers. Some may start helping within hours. And some can make your entire morning routine work with your cardiovascular system instead of against it. And when I reveal number 1, I'm going to show you why it has the strongest same-morning effect of all, and why so many people accidentally cancel its benefit without even realizing it. To understand why morning drinks matter so much, you first need to understand what your body is doing before you even get out of bed. In the early morning, hormones like cortisol and adrenaline begin to rise. Your heart starts pumping with more force. Your blood vessels adjust. Your body is preparing you to stand, move, think, and function. That's normal. But if you already have hypertension, that normal rise can become an exaggerated spike. And then people make it worse. They grab a salty vegetable cocktail, a giant coffee with sugar syrup, an energy drink, or even a fruit juice that looks healthy but hits the bloodstream like liquid dessert. Then they check their pressure 30 minutes later and panic. The number is real, but the choice that triggered it was preventable. Let me tell you about Arthur, because his story is one I never forgot. Arthur was 71, retired, disciplined, and absolutely convinced his blood pressure medication had stopped working. Every morning around 7 a.m., his readings were climbing into the 160s over 90s. He felt pressure behind his eyes, a little flushing in his cheeks, and that shaky, restless feeling people often describe as something just doesn't feel right. He was ready for a second prescription, but when I asked him to walk me through his exact routine, the answer showed up almost immediately. He woke up, went straight to the kitchen, brewed strong coffee, added sweetened creamer, drank it quickly on an empty stomach, then checked his blood pressure while reading stressful news headlines. His medication hadn't failed. His morning routine had. That's what makes liquid choices so powerful, especially in the morning. Food usually comes with fiber, chewing, slower digestion, and a little natural pacing. Drinks can hit fast. Their sugars absorb quickly. Their caffeine works quickly. Their sodium matters quickly. Their nitrates, polyphenols, and minerals can help quickly too. So if you're trying to lower high blood pressure, or even just avoid those scary morning spikes, the smartest thing you can do is stop thinking only about pills and start thinking about what you pour. And I want you to stay with me through all 4, because number 4 is the most overlooked, number 2 surprises almost everyone, and number 1 has the clearest I can feel the difference this morning potential. Let's start with number 4. And this one will surprise many people because it is not trendy, exotic, or expensive. Number 4 is low-fat milk, especially skim or 1% milk, used as a simple morning anchor instead of sugary coffee drinks, energy drinks, or sweet breakfast shakes. I know that may sound almost too ordinary to matter, but that's exactly why so many seniors ignore it. They're looking for some dramatic superfood, while overlooking the fact that blood pressure often responds best to steady, boring, repeatable habits. Low-fat milk is not the fastest-acting drink on this list. I want to be very honest about that. but it can help stabilize the morning in a way that supports better readings across the day, especially if your usual alternative is something loaded with sugar or caffeine. Evelyn taught me this lesson in a way I still remember. She was 69, lived alone, and started every day with what she called her little reward. That reward was a huge mug of coffee with flavored creamer and 2 spoons of sugar. No breakfast, no protein, just sweet coffee. By late morning she felt jittery, hungry, and headachy, and her blood pressure would often be higher at 10 a.m. than it had been when she first got out of bed. She thought the answer was stronger medication. Instead, we changed one simple thing. 3 mornings a week, she replaced the sweet coffee with a small glass of low-fat milk and a real breakfast. The other days, she kept coffee but cut the sugar and delayed it. Her numbers didn't become perfect overnight, but they became steadier, and the mid-morning spikes eased. Here's why low-fat milk can help. And it has nothing to do with hype. Milk naturally contains potassium, calcium, and phosphorus, nutrients that are repeatedly associated with healthier blood pressure regulation. Low-fat dairy also fits into the DASH pattern of eating, one of the most established dietary approaches for hypertension. Potassium helps the body handle sodium more effectively. Calcium plays a role in vascular contraction and relaxation. And when milk replaces a high-sugar breakfast drink, you're removing one trigger while adding something more stable. The key is that it must be plain, low-fat, and sensible. I'm not talking about milkshakes, chocolate syrups, whipped toppings, or sweetened coffee creamers disguised as dairy. I'm talking about one modest glass that supports the morning rather than overstimulating it. Now, before we move to number 3, I need you to hear this clearly. Number 4 is not your rescue drink if your pressure is extremely high this morning. It's your foundation drink if your mornings are chaotic, sugary, or caffeine-heavy. And that brings us to number 3, which is much more targeted, much more dramatic, and much more likely to make people say, "Wait a minute, I've heard about this before." Number 3 is 100% pomegranate juice. Not fruit punch, not cranberry pomegranate cocktail, not a red-colored breakfast beverage with 25 grams of added sugar and a healthy-looking label. Real pomegranate juice. And if you've never understood why some cardiology patients swear by it, what I'm about to explain is going to make perfect sense. Joan was 74, elegant, careful, and absolutely certain she was already drinking something heart-healthy. Every morning she poured herself a tall glass of what she called antioxidant juice. The bottle had bright fruit on the label, words like natural and immune support, and a beautiful deep red color. But when we looked closely, it turned out to be a sweet juice blend with only a little pomegranate in it. Mostly it was cheaper fruit juice concentrate and added sugars. Her breakfast drink looked medicinal. Physiologically, it behaved more like dessert. We switched her to a much smaller serving of real 100% pomegranate juice, paired it with a lower sodium breakfast, and had her start measuring her blood pressure before watching television. Over the next few weeks, her morning readings became more predictable and less erratic. What makes pomegranate interesting is its polyphenols and antioxidant compounds, which may support blood vessel function and may also influence ACE activity, one of the pathways involved in blood pressure regulation. Several clinical trials have suggested pomegranate juice can help lower both systolic and diastolic pressure. That doesn't mean it works like a prescription pill in everyone. It doesn't. And the evidence is not equally strong across every study. But when used consistently, especially in people whose diets are already improving, it can be a smart morning choice. The catch is portion size. Bigger is not better. A small serving is enough. If you fill a huge glass and drink it like water, you may be taking in far more sugar and calories than your body needs, and then you've turned a helpful option into a metabolic problem. There's also a caution here that seniors absolutely must respect, because this is where people get into trouble. Pomegranate can interact with certain medications. If you take blood pressure medicine, statins, or blood thinners like warfarin, you need to discuss regular pomegranate use with your clinician or pharmacist. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because natural does not always mean neutral. Plants are biologically active. That's why they can help, and it's also why they can interfere. So the safe way to use pomegranate juice is this. Choose 100% juice, keep the serving modest, avoid added sugar, and make sure it fits with your medication plan. Done that way, it can be a very smart number 3. Now let's move to number 2. And this is the one that many people dismiss as just a soothing tea until they see what the research actually suggests. Number 2 is hibiscus tea. Deep red, tart, refreshing, and far more powerful than it looks. In fact, among non-caffeinated morning drinks, Hibiscus may be one of the most impressive for people with mild to moderate blood pressure elevation. And the reason it surprises so many viewers is that it doesn't feel medicinal. It feels gentle. That's exactly why it slips under the radar. But when I explain what happens in the arteries and why people with higher starting numbers may respond even more, you'll understand why I never underestimate this tea. Leonard was 72, and his mornings were a perfect storm. He woke up, turned on cable news, got irritated before he was even fully dressed, and drank 2 mugs of coffee while scrolling headlines about everything wrong with the world. By the time he checked his blood pressure, his body had already been through a stress drill. His wife finally got fed up and started putting a mug of hibiscus tea in front of him before the television came on. At first he laughed at her. He called it flower water. But over time, that simple switch changed more than the drink. He sat down instead of pacing. He sipped instead of gulping. He calmed down before the caffeine hit. And once we made his measurements more consistent, we saw that his morning pressures were no longer swinging as wildly. Hibiscus matters because it seems to help the vascular system relax, likely through mechanisms involving nitric oxide and other blood vessel-friendly compounds. Clinical work has shown that regular hibiscus tea intake can lower systolic pressure, and the effect appears more noticeable in people who start with higher readings. That's important because many seniors wake up in the range where even a modest improvement can matter. A few points may not sound dramatic when you hear them casually, but on a real human body, a drop of several points can mean less strain on fragile arteries, less force against the vessel wall, and a calmer cardiovascular morning. That is not cosmetic. That is meaningful physiology. And unlike caffeinated drinks, hibiscus doesn't pile stimulation on top of your natural morning surge. But preparation matters. And this is where people weaken the benefit without realizing it. If you drown hibiscus tea in sugar or honey, you begin undoing the advantage. If you buy a bottled version loaded with sweeteners, same problem. The best version is simple. Brew it strong, let it steep long enough to extract those compounds, and drink it unsweetened or with the lightest touch possible. Some people like it warm, some prefer it chilled. Either is fine. What matters is consistency. If your blood pressure already runs low, or if you're on medication and sometimes feel dizzy when standing, monitor carefully because hibiscus can support lower readings and you don't want to stack effect on top of effect blindly. Gentle drink, yes. Weak drink, absolutely not. And now we've arrived at number 1, the drink with the strongest same morning logic on this list. The drink most likely to start helping within hours rather than only over weeks. And the drink that many people either love, hate, or completely misuse. Number 1 is beet juice. If you guessed it earlier, good. If you didn't, listen carefully, because this is where the science gets really interesting. Beet juice is not number 1 because it's fashionable. It's number 1 because dietary nitrates from beets can be converted into nitric oxide in the body. And nitric oxide is one of the key molecules your blood vessels use to relax and widen. Wider vessels mean less resistance. Less resistance means the heart doesn't have to push as hard. Robert was 76, and his blood pressure pattern scared him. His late morning and afternoon numbers were often acceptable, but his early readings were consistently high. That's a clue, by the way. When pressure is worst shortly after waking, morning physiology is often playing a larger role than people realize. Robert was doing a lot right already. He walked, he took his medication, he watched his salt, but his morning surge was still rough. We reviewed timing, stress, caffeine, and breakfast. Then we added a small serving of nitrate-rich beet juice before breakfast on selected mornings, and tracked his readings properly. He didn't transform into a new human being in one day, but he did notice that by mid-morning he felt less head pressure, less facial flushing, and less of that engine revving too hard sensation. Here is what makes beet juice special, and I want to explain it simply because once you understand it, you'll never think about this drink the same way again. The nitrates in beets don't lower blood pressure directly the second they touch your tongue. Instead, your body absorbs them, recirculates them through saliva, and bacteria in your mouth help convert them into nitrites. Then through the chemistry of your body, those nitrites can contribute to nitric oxide production. That nitric oxide helps blood vessels relax. This is why beet juice has become so interesting in both cardiovascular and exercise research. In older adults, studies have shown meaningful improvements in blood pressure with beetroot juice use, and broader hypertension research suggests the blood pressure lowering effect often peaks a few hours after ingestion. That is exactly why morning timing makes sense. But there's a detail here that almost nobody talks about. And it may be the reason some people say beet juice did nothing for them. Your mouth bacteria matter. If you use strong antibacterial mouthwash right before or right after beet juice, you may blunt part of the nitrate to nitrite process. In plain English, you may be killing off some of the helpers that make the drink work the way it's supposed to. That doesn't mean mouthwash is evil. It means timing matters. The second mistake people make is buying beet beverages that are mostly apple juice or sugary blends with just enough beet to color the bottle. If you want the number one drink to behave like the number one drink, it needs to actually be beet juice, not a candy-flavored imitation wearing a healthy costume. So how do you use it without overdoing it? Keep it practical. A modest serving is enough. Some people prefer about 8 ounces. Others use a concentrated beet shot diluted with water. Drink it in the first part of your morning, ideally before a salty breakfast, and before that second cup of coffee that pushes the nervous system even harder. And don't pair it with a donut, a sausage biscuit, or a stack of syrup-soaked pancakes, and then wonder why your pressure stays high. Beet juice can support vessel relaxation, but it cannot overpower a breakfast that drives up sodium, blood sugar, and stress hormones all at once. Your heart notices the whole pattern, not just the pretty red glass. Now I need to warn you about the biggest reason these 4 drinks fail, because this is where most blood pressure videos stop too early. The problem is not just what helps. The problem is what cancels the help. People drink hibiscus tea, then eat bacon and processed toast toppings. They drink pomegranate juice, then follow it with a giant coffee loaded with sweetener. They drink beet juice, then use it as permission to ignore salt for the rest of the day. That is not how blood pressure works. Your arteries are not accountants giving you a credit for one healthy choice that wipes out every unhealthy one. They are living tissue responding minute by minute to fluid balance, sodium, sugar, stress, hormones, and medication timing. If the rest of the morning is chaotic, even the best drink becomes a small voice in a loud room. One of the worst offenders is the so-called healthy juice aisle. And I want seniors to hear this very carefully. Many bottled drinks that look cardiovascular friendly are loaded with added sugar, concentrated fruit blends, or hidden sodium. Vegetable juices can be especially sneaky because people assume vegetables automatically mean low blood pressure. Not if the bottle is salty. Not if one serving contains enough sodium to push your morning numbers in the wrong direction. And fruit drinks can be just as misleading. If the front label says pomegranate, but the ingredient list starts with apple juice concentrate, pear juice concentrate, and sweeteners, that bottle may be doing far less for your pressure than you think. Read labels. The front of the bottle is marketing. The back of the bottle is truth. Another morning trap is caffeine. And I'm not here to declare coffee illegal. Some people tolerate modest coffee very well. Some don't. But if you are sensitive to caffeine, if your blood pressure tends to spike in the morning, or if you check your pressure right after coffee and keep seeing alarming readings, you need to stop pretending your cup has no role. Caffeine can raise blood pressure temporarily, especially in people who aren't fully tolerant to it or who already have uncontrolled hypertension. So if you want to use one of these 4 drinks strategically, try making it your first drink and pushing coffee later, after you've hydrated, eaten, calmed down, and let your system settle. That single change can tell you more about your body than months of guessing. Please don't make the opposite mistake either, which is thinking, if a small amount helps, a giant amount must help even more. That's not how physiology rewards you. Too much juice means more sugar load, more calories, and sometimes stomach upset. Too much tea can mean you're skipping food or medication timing. Too much liquid all at once can just leave you rushing to the bathroom and feeling miserable. What your cardiovascular system loves is not excess. It loves consistency. One modest, intelligent, repeatable morning drink beats an exaggerated health kick that lasts 3 days and disappears. That is how real blood pressure improvement happens. It is not dramatic. It is cumulative. And that is why the seniors who do best are often not the most extreme. They are the most steady. There is one more warning that could protect someone watching this right now. And I need to be direct. Do not use better morning readings as an excuse to stop your medication on your own. I have seen this happen too many times. A person starts hibiscus tea or beet juice, sees a few improved numbers, decides the pills are no longer necessary, and suddenly they are dealing with rebound hypertension, headaches, dizziness, or even dangerous spikes. If your readings improve consistently, wonderful. That is good news. But the right next step is to show the log to your doctor, not to improvise with your treatment plan. Natural support and medical treatment can work together beautifully. Reckless independence is where people get hurt. So how do you choose among the four? If you're watching this and thinking, just tell me which one is right for me. Here's the simplest way to think about it. If you want the strongest same morning blood vessel support, and you tolerate the flavor, beet juice is number one. If you want a caffeine-free routine drink with impressive evidence and a calming effect on your morning rhythm, hibiscus tea is number two. If you want a fruit-based option and your medications allow it, a modest serving of 100% pomegranate juice is number three. And if your mornings are being wrecked by sweet coffee drinks or breakfast chaos, low-fat milk is a smart number four because it stabilizes what many people are doing wrong. The best drink is the one that helps and that you will actually keep using. Let me give you a practical morning routine, because this is where everything comes together. Wake up, use the bathroom, sit quietly for a few minutes instead of jumping straight into stress. If you monitor blood pressure at home, take the reading before caffeine and before the news. Then choose your drink intentionally. Beet juice if you want the strongest vascular effect. Hibiscus tea if you want a calm, steady start. Pomegranate juice if it fits your medications and portion control. Low-fat milk if you need a grounded breakfast anchor. After that, eat something sensible and lower in sodium. Then take medications exactly as prescribed, unless your doctor has specifically told you to time them differently. That sequence is far more powerful than most people realize. Carol, a 70-year-old grandmother, showed me just how much this matters, because she thought she had resistant hypertension. Her notebook was full of frightening morning numbers. She assumed she was heading toward another medication. But when we rebuilt her mornings, everything changed. She stopped checking her pressure after coffee. She stopped watching alarming television before breakfast. She replaced her sugary juice blend with hibiscus on some days and beet juice on others. She started eating before noon, instead of skipping food and running on nerves. 2 weeks later, her doctor looked at the new log and said something that made her cry with relief. These numbers tell a different story. She didn't need panic. She needed a better pattern. That is what I want for you. Now, there are times when no drink is the answer. And I never want a viewer to confuse supportive advice with emergency care. If your blood pressure is extremely high, and you have chest pain, shortness of breath, weakness on one side, trouble speaking, sudden severe headache, confusion, or vision changes, do not sit there sipping beet juice and hoping for the best. That is emergency territory. The same is true if you feel faint, profoundly unwell, or if your numbers are far beyond what your doctor has told you is acceptable. Morning drinks are tools for support and prevention. They are not treatment for a stroke in progress. They are not treatment for a heart attack. They are part of a strategy, not a substitute for urgent care. So let's bring it all together, because I want you to leave this video knowing exactly what to remember. Number 4, low-fat milk. Simple and stabilizing, especially if it replaces a sugary or overstimulating breakfast drink. Number 3, 100% pomegranate juice. Rich in helpful plant compounds, but best used in small amounts and only if it fits safely with your medications. Number 2, hibiscus tea. One of the most impressive caffeine-free options for supporting lower pressure over time and a calmer start to the day. Number 1, beet juice. Because of its nitrate-driven nitric oxide pathway and its ability to start working on the same morning when timed well. 4 drinks, 4 different strengths. One common goal, taking stress off the arteries. And here is the deeper truth, the one I hope stays with you long after this video ends. Your morning is not a small thing. It sets the pressure tone for the hours that follow. The first drink you choose is not just hydration. It is a signal. It tells your body whether today begins with stimulation or support, with sugar or stability, with narrowing or relaxing. That choice may look tiny. Physiologically, it is not tiny at all. So tomorrow morning, do not just reach. Decide. Protect your heart before the noise of the day begins. Try one of these drinks the right way. Track how you feel. Track your readings properly, and let your own body show you the difference. If this helped you, share it with someone who wakes up worried about their blood pressure, someone who thinks medication is the only lever they have, or someone who keeps drinking the same healthy thing every morning without realizing it may be working against them. Subscribe to the channel for more clear, practical guidance designed to help you stay safer, calmer, and more in control of your health. Your blood pressure is not random. Your mornings are not harmless. And the right drink, chosen with intention, can do far more than most people ever imagine. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.